All right, I have Brianne with me again today. If you remember, we chatted with her right before she had her baby, and I wanted her, and she was willing to talk about her journey as an athlete, about like her story and what she would recommend to other women that are going through having a baby and recovery. There's starting to be more and more information at your fingertips, and I think it's hard for everyone to put everything together. But overall, I think the message we wanted to give is that you can be proactive, you can learn about your body, and there are things that you can do after to help you get back to your active lifestyle. So Bri, thanks so much. Congratulations to you, because now you're joining us with a new baby. I would love to share a little bit about your new addition, and a little bit about, if you don't mind, talking about your pelvic floor and preparing for delivery was helpful to you before the fact.
Yeah. So Ander is 4 weeks old now. He's a great little baby. I had nothing to compare him to, but my mom has been here for 2 weeks and she said, "You're so lucky. You have a great baby. He likes to eat. He likes to sleep. He's really content most of the time." And so, yeah, it's been a big life change, but it's been really good. And I can't imagine my life without him now. It's crazy. And yeah, preparing, for labor and delivery. This is my first, so I had no idea what to expect. My labor was really long. It was like 36 hours. And did most of that without an epidural. And then at the end, we figured out I wasn't progressing for like the last 24 hours because he was sunny side up. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I need to get an epidural. I need a break. So I was concerned about that because I was worried I wasn't going to be able to feel anything when I was pushing. And so they did a little bit of a lighter one, and I was actually still able to, I could go on my hands and knees. I could still move my legs, all that stuff. So I did feel like I had some control of my pelvic floor and the pushing. And I think the biggest thing for me was during the pushing phase was that like understanding that I needed to do two different things with my muscles. So like pushing with my abs or, all the rest of my body, while simultaneously like relaxing my pelvic floor to let him kind of like come through, was a big thing. And also, my nurses were great. They would, apply pressure to where I should be pushing. Just because I did have that epidural, there was some numbness. And so that helped a lot, just getting a sense of like, push down into here, but then they would also say relax here at the same time. And so by going through kind of Melissa's exercises of that Kegel, like doing a Kegel and then being able to totally relax your pelvic floor, I felt like prepared me a lot for being able to relax during the pushing phase. And especially because I don't think I ever relaxed my pelvic floor before.
Exactly. And I think that I find, and I'm not trying to speak for you, but I find a lot of clients say like, just actually seeing the anatomy and understanding like, okay, that's muscle there. I can control that. And just being able to picture like where the baby's coming out, but then how also like the muscles that extend like all the way up to the clitoris and all the way down to the anus, like play a role in the vaginal opening. I think a lot of people say that just visualizing that helps them. Oh, okay, that's what I need to do. Yeah.
And I think I told you this before we even started the video, but I asked for a mirror during pushing, and I feel like that also really helped because I could actually see the pushing and the relaxing and the pushing and the relaxing. So I knew, having talked to you and seeing the anatomy and then being able to see like how that's all working, at least for me, it was really, really helpful.
That's a good idea. I can't say that I've ever thought to recommend that to anybody. So that's a good idea. Yeah.
I mean, I think some people, I know don't want to see, but I mean, I kind of knew what it was going to look like and what was going to happen. And so it's just like, it is what it is. At least if this is going to help me get the baby out faster or feel like I had a little bit more control.
That's the thing. It's a situation you can't really control, but I would say that having something in your toolbox helps.
Yeah.
What about Brianne, speak a little bit. I see many women that are, and we touched on this before, like I see a lot of women that come in, they're like, listen, I'm a planner. I want to know, give me some things to work on after. And I always say to them, I don't know exactly what your postpartum story is going to look like, so you can't plan all of that. But I think women just want to have an idea of like, what should I do? What are some guidelines to get me through those early weeks after? Because it is not a time to be doing aggressive exercise. However, I see many women that are very athletic and that's part of their life. And so will you speak a little bit to kind of what you've been doing this first month postpartum, and how you've been navigating exercise and getting back to your activity level?
Yeah, I think, the type A planner in me, I think it just leaving the hospital and knowing, I mean, when you're in the hospital for those 2 days or whatever, like your pelvic floor and recovery and exercise is like the last thing you have on your mind because you're just trying to like survive each day. And then you get home and I was thinking like, wow, this feels weird. Like everything hurts. It literally, when I would walk, it felt like everything was going to fall out my butt, if that's like the best way to put it. And I think had I not known that on my computer I had like a program that was going to help me re-strengthen that, I would have been in a panic. But knowing I had that in my back pocket and like, don't panic, just take a week to just get in a routine and try to get whatever sleep you can. But when you're ready, you have that and you can start strengthening your pelvic floor, like was really helpful for me. So I didn't start the first week, I didn't do anything but sit in the same clothes and not shower and like try to breastfeed. That's basically all I did. And then the second week postpartum is when I started doing some pelvic floor exercises. So I did all your week 1 things. And that's all I did. It was just a little bit of exercise. I think at the end of week 1, I went for like a 3-block walk. And that was, I came home and I was like, that's enough. I've had plenty of walk. I think the start of week 2, we went to the park with our dog, maybe a little bit longer of a walk, and we threw pine cones for her. And I remember trying to throw a pine cone for her. And I was like, ooh, not doing that. Like, I didn't realize that, like, even just trying to throw a pine cone, like a little distance, you like flex your pelvic floor. That made me sore. I remember being like, we have to go home. And I was sore for probably 3 or 4 hours, like just from throwing that one pine cone. And I was like, okay, I can't do that much. So basically by week 2, we would just extend our walks a little bit further. So I was doing a ton of walking along with all the exercises. And at that point I kind of started to realize, okay, people will tell you, you can walk or you can't walk, or you can't start to run or do anything until 6 weeks. I was like, as an athlete, I know what it feels like to have an injury and be coming back from an injury. And typically what I'd always do is we would do a little bit, because I felt like I would actually recover from an injury quicker if I didn't just sit there and do nothing. It felt like if I did something, it would actually speed up, but you couldn't do too much. And I would always judge if I did too much based on if a couple hours after finishing the exercise, my pelvic or my injury was more sore. And so I would walk a little bit further and further, just enough that I wouldn't make it sore 2 hours later. So basically for the first 4 weeks, I just walked. By week 4, I was getting up to like 6 to 7K, and I'd just be pushing the stroller, or I'd be carrying Ander like in a carrier. And then actually, so the first time yesterday, I started to feel like I need to do a little bit more than walking. Like I'm kind of starting to go nuts. I need to like get my heart rate up. And we have a Peloton. So I got on the Peloton yesterday. So it would have been just 4 weeks and like 2 days postpartum. And I sat the whole time. I didn't do any standing up stuff because I do still feel like when I bounce, I can feel like it's unsupported, or like it feels a little bit vulnerable. And so I was sitting down the whole time and just biking, but I did a 30-minute like killer workout. My heart rate was getting high. I felt like I had that bloody taste in my throat, which was like great for me because that's kind of what I wanted, and it felt good. So I think my plan has just been do a little bit of mentally what I feel like I need to do, but also physically what I feel like I can handle. And I think I'm just gonna kind of keep doing that.
Perfect. And I think I loved how you talked the story about the pine cone, I think that the take home for me, and I hope that everyone catches, is that what I would say, like we tend to give, like in the past, no information about the pelvic floor and essentially the muscles that go through so much during a pregnancy and a delivery, and we tend to just kind of ignore them. But yes, rest is important, which you're doing, but you can't totally rest those if you want to live. Do you know what I mean? You've probably noticed that is like all day long, those muscles have to come on to help with like life. And so I would say that like the nice thing about the program, or the reason I created, is I think just teaching women like, okay, there's a difference between on versus off. And if I just kind of coax those back into moving again, generally you'll find that they start to pick up for you. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. It's been, I mean, I think the more exercise I do, as long as I don't go over that line, it feels like it's healing quicker. Like that first week, I didn't feel like I made much progress at all with it. It felt like it just kind of stayed the same. And then once I started doing stuff, it seemed to like heal quicker. It's interesting. Yeah.
I think deal with the bodily functions first, and then all of a sudden you'll notice you can do more and more. So
yeah,
that sounds great. I think you have the right mentality, and I think it's important to feed your mental health, but to just, your threshold is that feeling of unsupport or that vulnerability, and just listen to it, and you'll notice that you can do more and more, right? Like touch the threshold, but don't push past it, and you'll notice that it keeps moving for you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Totally.
Okay. So, thanks so much for doing this. Again, this is such a great resource that I can share with other people that want to kind of know what their plan should be. And I love that another one of your take homes has just been like, you can't necessarily, who knows, like your friend is going to be going through this differently than your cousin. Do you know what I mean? And you can't know exactly what it's going to look like, and everybody's symptoms and everyone's goals are different after. But I think if you just have a bit of a plan and know how to recognize signs in your body, that's all you can ask for, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I would love to touch base again. I know that, Brianne and I don't live close enough to one another that we can see each other, but she has an appointment booked with a therapist down in San Fran, I think, in a couple weeks.
Middle of March, yeah.
Awesome. So I would love to touch base again with you after you see her. I think it's great that you're going to see someone for an assessment, and I'd love to just touch base after you see her, and maybe after your care provider kind of gives you that all clear. And I just want to see kind of how you're doing and talk about kind of what your plan is moving forward from there.
Yeah, that sounds good.
We'll do that. Okay. Thank you so much. You're doing a great job.
Thanks, Melissa.
Okay.
Okay.
Take care.